What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I'm Jamie. This is Headbanging Through It, a podcast where we talk about heavy metal and mental health and other hard shit. How's everyone doing today? It's been a minute. I have been really fucking busy the last couple of weeks, you guys, and I unfortunately have fallen off the podcast wagon a little bit. And yeah, I'll give you guys an update. I'm not really sure where I'm going to be going with the podcast today because I have not really landed on a topic. My life has just been a bit scattered. So this episode today may also be a bit scattered. Such is my life, you guys. It is basically a burning dumpster fire of chaos. So let's dig into it. Let's talk about that. I have had a lot going on with my mental health the last few weeks, and I can't see without my glasses, so I'm going to keep them on. I'm just getting used to wearing them more because I'm going blind in my old age. Yeah. So I had a great conversation my last podcast with my friend Quinn. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, please do. He offers a really open perspective on the things that he's been through in his life. And I do hope to have more guests on the show to talk about other things that are not always easy to talk about and just opening up about the pieces of us that we tend to hide sometimes when really in those spaces is where we need the most connection. So, what's new with me? I was trying to think about what is new with me. I had so many things that I wanted to bring up in this podcast as I was running through ideas in my brain. And of course, then I sit down to do it and I'm like, I can't remember what's gone on in my life the last couple of weeks. I know that I've had a lot of spiraling and I know that I've had a lot of crying and I know that I haven't been sleeping well. Yeah. And I know that February can just go fuck itself, really. I'm glad that it's over this weekend. March is going to be, well, I don't know what March is going to be. I know that with March comes the beginning of spring. Also, March can just be like another fucking month of winter. Where I live anyway. We'll just see how it goes. January and February are basically done though, and those are the shittiest months for me. So I'm grateful to at least have that garbage behind me. I think the last time that I gave you guys an update on my mental health, I was talking about having these dips of anxiety. I've been going to acupuncture pretty regularly since the fall, and it's been really, I think, helping me with a lot of pieces of my mental health. Most significantly, I would say, has been my chest pain. I didn't know that I could get relief from my chest pain at all. And acupuncture has been shockingly amazing for that. Yeah, my chest pain has been much, much less than it usually is. So that's been great. I've still been having like these really big spells of stuff just comes up and it usually comes in waves, right? I think with trauma and PTSD and anxiety, the piece of it that's the most difficult to navigate is that it's unpredictable and you don't know really, you can't predict the future. So you don't know what you're gonna walk into when you start your day and who you might see or a place you might go that will cause your body to have some sort of reaction. Going out into the world means there's a possibility that something could happen and then I could fall into one of my plunges of fucking doom, whatever you want to call it. But I do want to I just want to talk more about trauma and PTSD and anxiety in my the things that I go through on a regular basis in my life. And I want to talk about these things as they come up because otherwise I forget about these parts of my mental health that I deal with all the time. And I know I've sat down and I've had an episode on my PTSD and I've had an episode on anxiety, and I'll probably have lots of them because as I move through my life, I realize that there are just like so many moving parts to what I deal with on a regular basis because I have such significant memory loss. I don't always think to like write it down. I will probably have episodes where it's just like a solid update on all of the things that I've gone through in my life, dealing with my mental health for the last week. If there's a lot of stuff to pack in there. I feel like there has been quite a bit going on with me that I will spend a bit of time talking about today. Okay, so I was talking about these panic spells I was having. So acupuncture, I've been doing acupuncture. My acupuncturist was like, well, how have you been feeling for the last week? And I had some stuff come up in my personal life, and I'm not going to dig too far into that because it is personal, but I did have some things come up around me in my life that triggered something from my work days in a pretty significant manner. And I, of course, right, you don't expect it. You don't know when they're coming. You don't know when things are going to happen. I kind of went into this space of like floating, I guess. So when she asked me how I was doing, I was like, I feel like I've been locked in this state of panic for about a week, right? Like I don't feel like I'm on the ground. And I think I've described it like that before of when you go into self-preservation mode, when there's like a trauma piece that comes up, you go into this bubble of like needing to keep yourself safe. And there's different levels of that with me as well, depending on like what is going on. And there's these spaces where I need to go where I feel like I have to be super locked into the bubble. And this was a pretty significant moment where I felt like, okay, I was telling myself it wasn't a big deal, of course, and then I didn't realize that I was like trying to escape my own body, to escape dealing with the way I was feeling about what was going on, right? I guess I just like lifted off the ground, and I didn't feel like I was walking anymore on the earth, right? Like, so I was holding myself in this space, in this safety bubble, like outside of my body, just like everything's okay, you're okay. And if you go into your body, you're going to realize like everything is fucking horrible. You're going to feel all this pain, and then you're going to have to look at it, and then you're going to have to deal with it. And you don't want to do that because this piece is in the box, Jamie. You've locked this piece in the box and you haven't taken it out of the box yet. I've talked about that. I've talked about how, you know, it's really freeing and really empowering when you take those things that you've locked in these boxes and you pull them out and you look them straight on, and you're like, and you just deal with them, and you're like, go fuck yourself. Stop plaguing my fucking soul with your darkness. You know, I've talked about releasing those things from you, and that hold you down, that are, you know, you're constantly trying to like pretend aren't there in those dark spaces. And I have done a lot of that work, and I have spent a lot of time digging into those places and pulling out those things and working through them in really big ways. And there are some things that are still in there. You know, I've been through a fucking lot in my life. And there are things that are just like tucked really deep in those corners, really far down and buried. There are some things that are still down there, that are still in those boxes, that I have chosen to keep there for now because I'm not in a place where I feel like I'm strong enough to handle dealing with them. I default into that mentality of like where I was 10 years ago, thinking, you know, if I just leave it alone, maybe it won't bother me anymore, right? Like I know it's there as long as it fucking stays there. Anyways, there are things that I have not dealt with yet that I don't want to deal with, that I've been okay with not dealing with because I'm like, you know, I've done a lot of work. I've opened a lot of big boxes, and I've made a lot of fucking headway in my life, and I've made some really fucking significant steps forward in my mental health. And I've also felt like over the years, I just needed to take breaks. It's exhausting. I don't want to do it all the time. I've just been like, it's fine. I've done, you know, a lot of the stuff. And if some stuff doesn't get dealt with right now, there's always space to do that later. And it wasn't that I was deliberately like setting it aside or ignoring it. Well, maybe there was a piece of me that was and has been, because it's shit that it's like some of the darker shit, you know, it's some of the darkest shit. The universe seems to have a way of like just banging on your fucking front door when it's time to do something, right? At least in my life, I feel like that is true for me. I'm the type of person that believes in like energies and signs and the universe being loud when it is telling you to do something. And I've had a lot of messaging about this area that I've been hiding away and not dealing with. I'm annoyed by it. I really don't want to do it. I've had a lot of tears around it. I've had some yelling around it. And just overall panic and stress and not sleeping, all the things that happen when I know that there's something that I should be looking at that I don't want to look at. So I'm now in the process of looking for a therapist. Think that what I've learned through therapy is you have to have the right fit for what you're dealing with and what you're going through. I want a fresh start. I want a fresh perspective. And so I'm now like in the process of trying to find someone that I can get into this portion of my work related trauma with. So that has been a lot. I have been pushing it off. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, today I'm going to do it. And then I don't do it. Right. And then I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to do it. And then I still don't do it. And then I finally like emailed a couple places. And then one person was like, sorry, I can't. Another person was like, well, I'm only online. I will not do this online. I also won't work with men for any of this stuff. So that also limits like who's available I live in a small community. But yeah, I've made some progress. I haven't started yet, but I'm getting close and I don't want to do it. There's like zero part of me that wants to do it. It's not that I'm afraid of doing it. It is because I know what comes with like being in these sessions. I don't want to do it because I don't like the fallout of it. I don't want to deal with like how shitty I'm going to feel after, how depressed I might get, how fucking emotional it's going to make me. I also don't want to go back and talk about all the things that I went through and reconnect with the person that I was when I was in those years of my life, because there's so many parts that I'm ashamed of. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of who I was. I'm not proud of the way that I dealt with things. I was drinking a lot. My mental health was really bad. And I did some things that I regret. I did some things that I'm not proud of. And also, I just was so unhealthy. I know that I have to tap back into all of those parts of me. And that part is really hard. It's really hard to admit and acknowledge those stages of our life when we're just like really not doing well, and looking at yourself in that state of like, wow, I was really not well. I have talked about that before. I've also talked about how, moving through that and doing that is really empowering, and you come out the other side feeling so much better. And you do. However, it is a lot and I just don't want to. It's exhausting. I know it's going to be really hard on me. I know it's going to be hard on my family. That being said, the way that the universe is screaming at me right now and throwing all this stuff at me and shoving all these signs in my face, you should deal with this, is also having a significant impact on me and my family and my home life in a way that is not good. So really, either I go in and I fucking deal with it and then I deal with the crash of that after, or I keep having all these like crashes very often throughout my fucking days and weeks until I completely fall apart. And then I will likely end up in therapy anyway because I'm going to fucking lose my mind, right? So, any way I look at it, I have to get into it, right? I have to get into it. And I've just been like internally battling with myself, and that's exhausting. So, I've just been actively avoiding it and then also messaging myself that I need to do this to help myself get through this part of my fucking life. And just going in a circle, not getting anything done and just being like, I need to do this, I need to do this. And then telling myself, I will, and then not doing it. I have an email to respond to confirm an appointment sitting in my inbox. Meanwhile, I've just been like floating and spiraling in this state of panic, anxiety, sleeplessness, some yelling. Like when my anxiety gets really bad, my ability to process my emotions gets really low, and then I just react by snapping, and that's awful. It's not been good for my kids. It's not been good for me. I don't want to be in a headspace where I can't breathe and like react to something in a calmer manner. I want to show up for my kids when they're stressed out. I don't want to be meeting them with my stress when they're stressed, and their stress is elevating my stress in ways that aren't healthy for me because I'm not dealing with myself. So there's just like so many things going on in my life that are just like, I feel like I'm gonna fucking lose my mind, really. And I went in to grab something out of my dresser the other day and I saw my tarot card sitting there and I was like, oh, I should pull a card. I haven't pulled a card in a while. And and maybe it will help me through whatever. Maybe it'll give me some insight into like what I should fucking do. And I already know what I should do, but like sometimes I just need an outside source to be like, Jamie, breathe. Like, you know how to do this. To just like remind me that I know how to do it and that I can do it in whatever way feels right for me in that moment. I have to just trust myself, right? Like, I forget that I have the skill set and I have the tools and I have the ability to get through these things. And I freak myself out and then I psych myself out and I get in my head with all this fucking fear about all the reasons why it's going to be too much for me, even though I know it's not going to be any worse than what I've already been through. And I definitely know that it's not going to be like going through what I went through 10 fucking years ago. Sometimes I'm looking for like, and I have lots of support, right? My husband's super supportive. My friends are super supportive, my family, and they come at me with the same type of messaging, but they're also like these people that are around me all the time. And I'm like, you guys have to say that because you're my family, you're my friends, you're my support system, you're my people. And I think that messaging just falls flat sometimes because we're so used to hearing it from the people that we love. Not to say that I don't want that encouragement. Of course I do, but like, yeah, okay, you say I got this. I don't feel like I got this. Anyway, so I pulled this fucking tarot card. And I love this deck of cards. I've had lots of decks over the years and I haven't found one that I really connect with. And I finally got this one and I really love it. It's got really cool imagery on it. And the messaging is just like, it really aligns with who I am. Anyway, of course, I pulled the fucking ocean card and I don't have it with me, so I can't read it to you guys. But I was like, of course I pulled the ocean card. I fucking love the water so much. I have so much connection with the water. I've talked about in my darkness podcast, that cliff area that I create in my mind where I go to sort of like escape all my shit and also contemplate my life and also look down over the edge of just like, what's down there. And is there a space down there that might help me feel free from all the shit that I'm dealing with back here? And in that space that I've created are these big crashing waves, right? And those big crashing waves are the ocean. It's always the ocean. I love the smell of the ocean. I love the sound of the ocean. I love the salt in the ocean. I love the power of the ocean, the unpredictability of the ocean, and the life within the ocean. There's so many parts to it that are just magical. And I miss the smell of it. I don't live near the ocean anymore. I grew up in the Lower Mainland where I always had access to it. And I spent a lot of time on the water with my dad and boats, fishing and, doing all these things around water as a kid. And so I have this deep fucking connection with it. So when I pulled the ocean card, I was like, of course I pulled the ocean card. And then I just stared at it because I was like, it doesn't even really matter what it says. I already know what it means. It means like you have the power to move with this, whatever it is. The wording was like, it was just something about the power of the water and how you choose to react when a wave comes at you. You can either jump in and try to dive under it. You can surf over it, or you can stand in it and move through it. It was something like along those lines. And I already know what the answer is. And I already know what I'm going to do because I have already learned these things in my life. For me, that is the only fucking way that I am ever going to find any relief from this shit is if I fucking deal with it. Deal with it head on and fucking move through it. And I know that. And I know that I have all this support in my life and these people saying, you got this, you know how to do this, you got this, it's going to be fine. And yet when I looked at this card, it was the first time in 2 weeks where I was like, okay, I know what to do. I know what to do, but it was just like this little bit of like reassurance. I don't know. It was something that I needed in that moment of like, there it is, Jamie. Like you already fucking have the answer. You hold the answer within you. You fucking know you hold the answer within you. And yet this card is just like, here you go, Jamie. Like, here's your answer. You know what to do. It's all annoying. It's all been really annoying. It's just weird how when there's something kind of like nagging at you, like maybe you should look at this and deal with this. And then you look away and you're like, no, not right now. And then the next day, something else will like come right up in my face that's related to what I've been ignoring and say like, yes, you do need to do this. For example, I haven't really seen, there's some really significant people that I used to work with that I haven't seen in a long time that I don't want to see like at all. And I have not seen in a long time, which has been really good for me because those people really fire me up in ways that are not healthy for me. And in the last 2 weeks, I've seen 2 of these people, and it's been years since I've seen any of them. The dive that my health has taken, just seeing these individuals, has been so fucking significant that there's no way that I can continue to ignore it. If just that was enough to send me spiraling, how am I going to fucking get through my life? If I keep telling myself this is fine, I don't need to look at this, I'm abusing myself really by pretending that it's not bothering me when it clearly is very fucking upsetting to me. And when things I know in my cycles of my trauma, that when shit like this happens, it's for a fucking reason. And it is your body and your nervous system literally screaming at you, as well as the universe giving me signs of like, hey, do this. This is not healthy for you to be dragging around with you anymore. I don't like it. All of it makes me feel like I want to fucking puke, and then I want to go hide in a hole in my backyard and just like put a bunch of dirt over myself and just never come out. If that could save me from having to deal with it, great, but I know that that's not going to. I know that no matter what I do, and if I keep just pretending or trying to ignore it, that it is just going to keep coming back up. Why now? I don't know. Maybe with the Chinese New Year, it's just like, knock, knock, you're the horse. Let's like finish getting this stuff out of your life. My best friend and I have been talking for quite a few years about how 2027 is going to be our year. Like when we started saying that, it was, I don't know, 2019, 2018. It was so long ago. It just seemed like so far away. And we had all these jokes about how like 2027 was going to be it. It's going to be the year. It's going to be the best year for us. That's our year. And now it's 2026, and 2027 is really not that far away. Maybe this is how I just like finish fucking cleaning the slate. I don't know. What I do know is that it's pissing me off. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. And I know that it doesn't matter what I want, because if it is screaming at me, it's not going to stop screaming at me until I fucking do something about it. So I've been in this space of like up and down with it and back and forth with it and hiding and running from it, and then it hitting me in the face, and then me just falling down flat and falling apart basically about how I don't want to deal with it. And when I get like that, it's really bad. I have been in, just falling into these dark places in this gray space, in the fog. I haven't done my depression episode yet, but I will. God, I should really do that. Because depression is just like a huge piece of all of the mental health stuff that I go through, and in these layers of depression. And I think I've touched on it once or twice, maybe in one of my previous podcasts, about like how I feel like there's different stages of depression. Anyways, I have just been all over the fucking place with it. And then having these giant spells of just a complete panic. And that sucks. I don't deal with that stuff very well. And I just feel like it's this cycle that's never going to end. And I know that I have cycles, and I know that cycles can be broken, but how do you break cycles like this if you're doing, I don't know. I just feel like when there's so much unpredictability with mental health issues, how do you ever feel like you're going to get to the end of it when anything can shift at any moment and anything can come up at any point in your life that can send you into a spiral? Even if I take all of the shit out of all of the boxes that I've buried in my fucking soul, is that going to be the end of it? Will it stop after that? I don't know. Does anyone know? Do you guys know? Do you have the answer to that? Like, it's a chronic illness. It's a long-term illness. Is there a cure for PTSD and trauma and anxiety? Is there like an endpoint to it? Has anyone like stopped experiencing symptoms in their lifetime? I would be interested to hear that. I also would love to have someone on the show that has never had any experience with mental health issues, because I want to know what it's like to live like that. What goes through someone's brain? Well, I'm laughing because I think that's funny, but also like I'm actually sincerely intrigued by whether or not there are people out there that don't have these internal battles, that just move through life without feeling like turmoil and internal distress, and what that is like, what it would be like to exist like that, and what goes on in your head, and what is your messaging system like, and what is it like to go through a day like that? Like, walk me through a day in your life. I had a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago that I've known for quite a while, and I did not know this about them, but they had never smoked weed in their life and done drugs in their life before. And I was like, what? I like didn't know that there were people out in the world that existed like that. I just assumed that everyone has done like at least something once or tried something at some point in their life. I was really shocked by that. And then I kind of had this moment of like, wait, I just thought it was normal to do all of the things. But like, is it actually normal to not do any of the things? Like, is there a lot of people out there that haven't gone through all these experiences? And like, I do know that because of all the things that I've been through and all of the ways that I've lived through my life, that I definitely have biases about things, and it has a huge impact on my perspectives of life and how I look at things. However, I never considered that there were people out in the world that haven't been through hard times, that haven't battled with some sort of addiction, that haven't had like spells of like something. Yeah. So I had this weird moment where I was like, oh my God, like, are there people out there that have literally actually never experienced like grief and depression or anxiety or any kind of mental health like crisis? Do those people exist? Do you guys know someone out in the world that exists like that? And if so, can I talk to them? Like, tell them to get in touch with me, because I would love to have a conversation with someone like that. I don't think there's anyone in my personal like circle or surroundings that has not been through something. But yeah, interesting. It was just a thought. I was just like a mind blowing thought of like, if there are like a lot of people out there like that, of course you're going to look at someone like me and be like, wow, I just don't understand anything you're talking about, right? Like, because of course it would seem like I'm really fucked up and dark, because my experience has been really fucked up and dark. And so of course I relate to that stuff. And I relate to lots of other things too. But if you haven't been through, the thought never really crossed my mind that there are people out there that haven't been through something significant, or that haven't experienced like these aspects of some sort of like crisis of some kind. Anyways, what was I talking about? But the reason that I started this podcast is because I want to talk about the stuff that's like this, that is like, I feel like a lot of people go through these hard times and the significant shit and then pretend like they don't, because they want to be perceived as someone that is light and positive and can handle all this stuff, that life isn't weighing them down, because that is like sad and mopey, and people don't want to be around people that are like that. People don't want to be around, the Eeyores of the world. Everything's really sad. I don't know. I feel like you can have both things. I think that, more than one thing can be true, and there are multiple sides of us and multiple layers of people. And just because you have pieces of you that are a certain way, or parts of your existence that have been hard, doesn't mean that you don't have these other pieces of you that are also light, right? While I was in one of my many spirals that I've had in the last couple of weeks, my best friend, she gives me lots of pep talks. She's just like the most beautiful soul, and she knows me better than anybody. And I really just appreciate all of her kindness all the time, and holding space for me when I don't feel like I really even deserve it, when I'm in these places of like not liking myself, right? Because my mental health gets so low to the point where I can't cope with my family. I can't cope with my kids. I don't know how to talk to anybody. I don't know how to get through my day. Like, I'm completely shut down. And then I completely hide within myself. And I'm trying to like hold all of the stuff that's going on inside of me at bay, so that the people around me aren't impacted. But what I'm doing is actually like not breathing, really. And so then it becomes too much to hold on to. And then it just explodes out of me in these really unhealthy ways. And then I spiral into myself about like how I'm not showing up for myself in good ways, for my kids in the ways that they need, for my husband, and that I just like fucking suck as a human, right? And then these messaging systems internally become really dark, of like, why do I do this to myself? Why am I like this? Why can't I be better? And then I don't like myself because I'm not taking care of myself in the ways that I need to be healthy. And then it's like this self-punishing cycle of like, why don't you just fucking do better, Jamie? And that is really shitty. It gets really dark. It's just not who I want to be. And it's not who I am. When I think about who I am, it's not that. It's not that piece of me, right? And my best friend said something to me that impacted me. Like it really hit me in a way that part of it really like, it kind of upset me because I like to be very open about all the parts of myself and who I am and in my mental health and all the ways that I exist in this world. And then part of it was like, maybe there's some validity in what she's saying. What she said was, oh, I wish I could remember word for word, but she said something along the lines of like, this is not who you are, or these pieces are not who you are in this world. Like you are this and this and this and this and this. And she listed off all these beautiful aspects of the things that she sees in me and that she loves about me. And it was really beautiful. And, basically trying to give me a pep talk on like, this isn't who you really are. Don't forget that you're this and this and this and this and this. And it was a very like loving thing to say. And there were so many layers of how much love she has for me in that message. And with that, there was a part of me that was also like, well, but also it is, right? Like, I am all of those things that you listed off because that is how you see me. And I love that. And it doesn't take away the fact that like these other parts of me also exist. I am not just one thing. I am not just defined by my darkness. I am also not just defined by my sense of humor. I am also not just defined by my empathy and the way that I feel things. I'm also not just defined by when I have angry moments. I am many, many, many things, and I have many parts of me, and they are all a piece of who I am. I am not defined by any of those things. I am all of them combined. A huge part of the journey that I've been on is like learning to live with that, right? And learning to accept that I have all of these parts of me, and that's okay. It is okay that I have that dark place called the cliff that I like to sit on and contemplate and look down on. It is okay that I also get mad sometimes when my mental health is not good. And it is also okay that I hide in my closet and cry when I need space. And I am not just one thing all of the time. None of us are. And it's okay to have different pieces of you be all together under one. I don't look at myself as an angry person. I don't look at myself as a depressed person. I don't look at myself as a panicked, anxious person. I do know I have light in me because I feel it in my fucking soul. I do know that I am not eternally lost in darkness because I don't see darkness in myself as like an overpowering part of who I am. I feel like I exist in my body in this space of like having all of those things together where there is so much light in there and so much love and so much hope and so much laughter and so much fucking joy and also crashing waves and chaos and shadows. It's okay to be all of those things and not have to be put into one fucking box. I hate boxes. I don't belong in a box. I think that a huge part of moving through these mental health issues is just like knowing that it doesn't matter how you do it. It is a lot to be put in these places during these mental health crashes where it just doesn't feel like there is a way out of it and that it's going to get better. And I'm not just saying like short term, like, yeah, tomorrow might be better. The next day might be better. In an hour, I might feel better. I mean, like long term, looking down the road through the rest of my fucking life. Is there hope for me that this is going to not always happen all the time? And the truth is, I just don't know. There's been like multiple things that have happened in the last couple of weeks that have really like set me off in these crazy, bizarre ways. Mostly it's been related to just like my old job and like triggered me so significantly that I'm not functioning very well. I have days where I feel like it doesn't matter if I do all the work or not, that there's going to be pieces of me that are always like this. And that's really hard to look at because yes, there's always hope and there are no answers. I do my best not to put too much like focus on that far in the future because it gets overwhelming and there's just no point. But I do wonder. I mean, I can't help but wonder sometimes if this is just like me for the rest of my life. And I don't know how the people around me deal with me. I don't know how I deal with me. Some days I get really fucking tired of myself and I can't jump outside of my own body, although I do try. Like, I would like to not be, existing in my own body sometimes. I just want to like take a break from myself. I don't get a break from myself. I'm literally fucking stuck in here until whatever next life I get, I guess. It feels like it just feels like I'm trapped. Some days I just feel like I'm fucking trapped. I know that's not true. I know that I am in charge of my own fate, and that is easier said than done. And I know that because I have lived in this for so long. It's a lot of work to do the work. It's a lot of strain emotionally to do the work. That's not to say that I don't believe it's helpful. I do. It doesn't take away from all of the things that come with it. And then just having these moments of significant regret with the choices that I made in my life. And would I be in a better place now if I had just made different choices? And I don't want to wallow in that. I don't want to like hold on to this what if piece of my past. There's no point in doing that. It does not serve me. It's not healthy. I think it's really normal to wonder what would have or could have happened in our lives if we had just like done something a little differently. Anyways, I am where I am. I am who I am because I have been through what I've been through. And the only parts that I can change about that is what I do now and how I continue to exist in this world. So I will do the work. I will keep you guys posted on how that goes. And I will keep talking about it. When I was looking for a counselor, I was digging into trying to find resources around first responders and emergency service workers in the BC area. And if there's any supports for people that have been in that line of work that don't have access to resources anymore, like me. I don't have anything to do with the place that I used to work in. I don't want to have anything to do with them. There was no continued support after my claim ended. It was just like, okay, now we're done with you. And then when it reached that endpoint, I was no longer covered for like counseling or anything else, which is a huge part of why I stopped going because it's so expensive. And to maintain that on a regular basis is significant. I have kids, we have bills to pay. Like my husband and I work really hard. And of course, my health matters. Going to the gym is like more important to me than going to therapy most days. And I just can't keep up with all the things, right? Like I can't do all of the things. It's impossible. And like, I am in a position where I can at least afford to go to the gym. And so many people don't even have that. So it's like choosing what I can do to help myself with what I have access to. And I was getting a little pissed off trying to find resources because there must be something. There must be something out there for people that have been working for like governing bodies in these positions where they're doing these lines of work that have significant impact on their mental health. I couldn't really find anything. So if you guys know something or you have access to information out there that could benefit me in some way of working in that line of work. I was a support worker. I wasn't a first responder. So I don't know if I fall into that category. And is there any support for people that worked in these areas that don't have access to resources yet continue to struggle and will likely continue to struggle for years to come with mental health issues that were related directly to their jobs? I feel like there is just like a lot of fucking shit that isn't looked at, isn't talked about, and there's a lot of lack of support in these areas, and there shouldn't be. It's really sad. It makes me angry in ways that I should probably deal with in therapy when I go. I was just like blown away by it. So now I'm like manically, like madly trying to fucking save enough money so that I can go and do some sessions so that I can deal with the shit that's come up. This was a direct impact from something that happened to me through my work, but I'm just left in the dust, right? Like there's no one to help me but me. And I'm just left to my own devices. Like I'm just left here to like try and figure it out on my own without any fucking support from anyone. And they don't want to have anything to do with me. Everything that happened to me was just a huge fucking inconvenience to my employers in the first place. I think that's really sad. I think that there are so many parts of the systems that are broken. I feel like there's so fucking many conversations that I can have around this. If you're someone that works in that field and you want to have a conversation with me, I would love to have you on the show. If you know someone that is struggling from being in that line of work, I have a couple of episodes that directly relate to my post-traumatic stress disorder that was caused as a result of being a 911 dispatcher and a court liaison in a police office for many years on end. If you think that they might benefit from hearing what I have to say, please send it to them. There's a lot of lack of communication and support in these areas. There's a lot of shame surrounding it. There's a lot of like this mentality in this industry of like, if you have any sort of like emotion about it, or you leave the work, or you're not like able to cut it, that you're this weak fucking piece of shit that just couldn't deal with it, right? There's this like, it's a really tight knit group in there. And I will have conversations about the level of ego that's involved in that. This hero complex. I will dig into it with somebody that I can actually like have a conversation with. But anyways, if you know someone that would benefit from hearing any of these conversations, please send them some of my podcasts. I'm going to wrap this up before I get too ranty and I start throwing things. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Peace.